Hi everyone, it's Jen again. I'm here with another Otome Jam update at the end of week 3. So, what happened this week? I don't even remember. It went by kind of in a blur. Um, there was a lot of things going on in my work life, home life. Not all bad things. My son had a fun fair on Friday that he just had like a blast on. But that was like probably 2 hours that I was going to after work, and I was just so exhausted after that that when I came home, I just kind of curled up with a book and I crashed. Um, Weather has been pretty nice, so I did go out for a long walk with my son also yesterday on Saturday. And I really had kind of planned at the beginning of the week, the way things were going, that I was like, oh, I'll probably be able to get ahead of myself on my schedule, like with the way that things are going, because like the first couple days of the week, like everything was like going full steam ahead on my project, and then just stuff happened where I got derailed and I didn't end up with as much time as I thought I would. And I didn't even make my weekly goal, let alone surpass my weekly goal. And instead of kind of just like hunkering down and deciding that I was going to cram all this weekend to try to make up for it, I decided that I probably needed to step away and spend some time with family and with the things that really matter. Like, as much as my projects like mean so much to me, what do I really feel like, is the epitome of the human existence, is about sharing that existence with others that you care about. Um, I don't know if you saw my cat either, that was just like in the shot right now, but my poor cat has also been feeling kind of down. So he has been very needy, and that has also been slowing down my my progress this week, just because he's just been wanting a lot of attention. Um he's kind of like a hot and cold kind of cat, where he will he will, when he wants attention, he really wants that attention right then and there. And then when he doesn't want attention, then he will just kind of like seem really off put by you. If you try to approach him, he'll just gonna be like, nah, get away from me. Which I respect, because I can be that way myself. But yeah, this past week he's just been really, really wanting a lot of attention, like not just curling up on my lap for a few minutes and then jumping down, but like wanting pets, standing on top of my keyboard, until I will give him that like attention. So, so yeah, that's been a bit of a derailment. The biggest derailment was probably that there's a couple players with the original Arcane Dice Wars that have made it to a point in the game where there was a bug if you chose a certain route that would get you stuck. And this bug was not just like a simple like add a flag and be done. There was a lot of like missing text or something, so I don't know if my cat sat on my keyboard and deleted a bunch of script. I don't know what happened to it. If I hallucinated finishing the scripts, or what happened. But there was a bunch of stuff missing that it was very confusing for me to like figure out what happened and why it wasn't working. And so that took me probably a good day to find and try to test, and I still don't feel like I've fully tested it to make sure that like it's working with 100% certainty. So I really hope that I didn't just upload a build that that hasn't been vetted proper, thoroughly. But once you get that far into the game, I don't have the stamina to go through, the first, like, I don't know, 10 hours of gameplay from scratch again to make sure, with absolute certainty that it's going to be working. So I kind of create shortcuts for myself to try to get to that point in the game, but there's probably some flags that, or combination of flags that I might have missed while I was making that shortcut for myself, so hopefully that's working. I was also feeling kind of guilty that it had that bug in there. I didn't want to let it sit there and fester. It really like gnaws on me to know somebody out there, even if it's just that one person, was stuck. So I really wanted to get that fixed out there, and as a form of apology, I spent another day just adding a bunch of just playful banter to the game. So that was 2 days that I kind of got derailed. And probably in the past, my past self would have said, no, Jen, just focus on your project at hand, make the quickest fix to get the people out of the bug unstuck, and then just like throw it out there and move on and get back to your project that has a deadline. But I find that if I force myself to focus on something when I want to focus on something else, then that is what kind of will derail me more so in the end. Like if I have a desire to draw something or write something and I'm like, nope, I can't do that until I finish this other thing first, then I will end up doing nothing, or I will end up just slipping through it and doing a terrible job, because it's not really where I want to be. So I can force myself to try to have that one track, but if I want to veer off and enjoy the scenery, I'm not going to enjoy, the trip, the journey. So I find it's better to just kind of let myself indulge in some of the stuff that I want to do, so that I can continue to actually enjoy the process. Which is another reason why I don't take commission work anymore, is because I don't want to have that sense of conflicting responsibilities where it's if I want to work on my project, or I want to draw this other thing, but I have to follow through with this commitment first, and I don't have the luxury of making those decisions to kind of veer off and do something else because I have I'm financially obligated to somebody else. So I just don't deal with that anymore. So that is kind of how my week has gone, and this actually brings us to a really good talking point. What do we do when we don't meet our goals? We're looking at the June 30th deadline, and oh no, week 3. We didn't even finish writing the dungeon, which already had been pushed off for a while. I only started painting one of these backgrounds instead of getting 2 backgrounds done. And although I have Mieta's Bond sprite done, as far as the artwork, I haven't animated it yet. So I just have the flats that I have it set up for animation, but I haven't actually done. There's no keyframes here. I haven't done the animation for any of the expressions yet. So that's where we're at with that. The other thing that derailed me was I didn't even have it written down in here, but I was really struggling with implementing the new voice lines, getting the production the way that I wanted it to be. I know I'm not a sound producer, and the audio quality of the voices is probably iffy at best, but there's still a certain amount of consistency that I was trying to achieve, and I'm not getting the levels to match up, and it sounded really off-putting, distractingly so, not even just the normal level of acceptable amateurness. It was just bad, and I just had to keep on re-exporting and re-chopping up the lines and re-editing, and I spent so many hours doing that, and I'm still not happy with results. So I did not even think to put that in my workflow, but Dieda's voice lines need to be reworked again for the umpteenth time. So I should probably put it in my schedule. So, yeah, what do we do when we're looking at this nicely laid out plan for a project and you start to fall behind? Well, in my case, since it's an indie project where, again, I don't have any real obligations to anybody but myself, I have the freedom to, either hunker down and be like, okay, I need to like crunch to make up for like not making my goals last week. I got to figure out a way to like spread out this this way that I fell behind to like kind of make up for it, do double time. Or I can say, I need to be realistic, and this goal was a pretty ambitious goal to begin with. What can I do that's going to make this a manageable timeline for where I am right now? So this is something that I would do differently in the past. In the past, whenever I would fall behind on a deadline, I would immediately start working in ways to like try to cram to make up for it. And oftentimes that would work. I would be able to achieve my goal in the end, but it would take away from the enjoyment of the overall process. Like I would burn myself out. So then by the time I finish my project, I don't want to do any projects. I'm like, like that that anime image of like the soul like leaving the body. Like that would be me, because I pushed myself too hard. I didn't enjoy the process. I stressed myself out. I am a person who is very prone to catastrophic thinking, and the overwhelming like sense of like having to take responsibility for everything and fix everything. And certainly I am a fairly capable person, so a lot of times I can make sacrifices, whether that be with my sleep or my health or my sanity, to do whatever it is I feel like I'm responsible to do. But it's at a cost. These things don't just happen and then everything's fine because you made it to the finish line. You did what you need to do. When you overextend yourself, that takes a toll. And I also lose sight of like, why am I doing this in the first place? I'm doing this for fun. So now my approach to reevaluating deadlines is different. And I think that like anybody who's been in a kind of like a recovery program or has tried to do things to kind of like change their lifestyle, to live a healthier and more sustainable lifestyle, has gone through kind of similar kind of goal setting, disappointment of like kind of failing to meet those goals, and then what do we do from there? Do we beat ourselves up to try to force ourselves to get back on track, be disciplined? Do we shame ourselves? These types of negative emotions I don't think are good for long-term sustainability. Yes, you can force yourself to and discipline yourself through shame and negativity, and you can put yourself down and say, you failed and now you got to work harder to try to like make up for that failure, or else you're gonna always be a failure. You can say those negative things to yourself and you can get some short-term results, but where you're going to be like 5, 10, 20, 30 years of like that kind of like self, beating yourself over the shoulder is not going to be a good place. Take it from personal experience. I am a big advocate now for positive reinforcement. And one of the ways that I try to positively reinforce myself and others when we fail is to say, okay, that was done in the past. That time is spent. I can't go back in time and change the outcome now. I've got to deal with what I've got now. And I want to do this in a way that I'm going to still be able to look forward to it and be excited about it and be just as, I guess, happy and excited for myself and proud of myself as I was when I first entered this process before I failed. So what can I do to not make this project overwhelming, to not dwell on my inability or my failure to meet this past deadline, is not going to be to readjust my schedule into something more stressful, which is going to always be like a constant reminder of like playing catch up for like 1 week that I fell behind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, what is achievable for where I am right now? What have I learned by this failure? I have learned that I didn't properly account for other things in my life that could come up. I didn't properly account for certain tasks that were going to take longer than I thought they would. Based on the past 3 weeks, I've really underestimated the amount of time that it's going to take me to write these scenarios. And so this was a very ambitious goal to start out with that I thought would be faster because I have so much of the framework already created from my previous game, but it doesn't negate the amount of time that I'm still going to have to invest in creating a new game. It sounds really obvious like when I say it like that, but this original goal, even though I was sort of like under the illusion that I was sort of keeping up with things because I was keeping up with the artwork, is not going to happen based on the last 3 weeks. And so I'm going to have to look at my project now and say, what do I think will be achievable by the deadline? What can I look at and omit and still be able to give the player like a full experience? Well, for starters, I think that I can safely write out one of the Bond characters, because I have like basically like 3.5 romance routes, and so I'm going to definitely eliminate like one of them. I think that will probably be one of the easiest things that I can get rid of, which won't take away from the overall experience of the player. And it will still it'll still be a good enough experience for them for the time frame of the jam. I do still want to go in and add these things to like finish the game, but it doesn't have to be finished by the deadline. So that's kind of like easy enough, I think, to kind of get rid of. Right now, what I have is probably honestly like enough that I could like upload it and have somebody play it and kind of like get an idea of what I'm going for. But is it more important to me to have like one complete route finished and then or do I want to have like one person's story completely done? I don't even know if I could do that. I think I'm going to be taking, for now, I'm going to be tentatively taking Brookhaven, the Warfare campaign off the table. Whoops, I don't think I got rid of that date. And we're going to aim for just getting the dungeon and the forest done. Which means none of the bond routes will be completely finished, but I will probably have up to bond level 4 for Jeth, Michaelis, and Dieta. And then I'm probably not going to be finishing the romance routes for this jam. We're going to focus on just trying to get the forest and these 4 bond levels done. Okay, so actually I'm not even going to worry about finishing painting the background I started. That is going to be a stretch goal. We can go ahead and just get rid of this because Or we can just put a slash through it. Oh, is it under here? That's so... Why is that Alt Shift plus 5? I would never have guessed that. Oh, I should probably edit that out, right? So you don't have to see me like wandering around like, how do I do a strike through on a PC? Okay, anyways. Okay, so let's look at what we have going into week 4 to make this manageable. I know that I want to add a castle hub, a new art for that. So that is going to be my background. And I do want to do a splash for the main menu. And that's going to be for that'll be it for the artwork for that. I'll plan out doing that week. And then we're going to keep on working on the dungeon dialogue. And we're going to implement Dieda's voice lines. Okay. And so then for week 5, we're going to plan out to hopefully be moving on from dungeon dialogue to forest dialogue. And we're going to work on bond routes. Do I want to actually work on any artwork that week? I guess if I feel like doing artwork, we can start thinking about doing the you know, I don't even know that I'm going to be having end routes done though, so it would probably be a waste. You know what? Let's just move this cover. We'll move this. Yeah, I think we're going to move this down to this week. And we're just going to really focus on getting this dang dungeon dialogue done already. It's been like bleeding over. It's been bleeding over, man. Okay. And then we're going to give ourselves like this is good. That's what happened. Let's based on our previous experience here, let's plan on having 3 weeks to write the forest. And yeah, we'll be working on bond routes here too. And I don't know that I'll have any artwork that I'll be planning on working on based on my current timeline. Because now we're just going to be working on getting chapter 1 and 2 done, which will basically be like going through the dungeon with Michaelis and then going through the forest with Jeth. So that will be like the introduction to those characters and really getting to know them as your guide, which seems like a good place to stop. And so then we will move this up. And if we get all that done, if we actually stick to this doable schedule, and I have time to add more, then we can add more. But at least this is a way less ambitious timeline to work on. And you know what, I am going to go ahead and this is the Otome Jam headline, but I would like to go ahead and finish. I have another kind of like creator Creator Summer Showcase. That deadline, that is in August. And that is going to be where I'm going to plan on having chapter 3 plus romance endings with Mieta implemented. So that will give me 2 more months with July and August. So I'm kind of splitting up what I originally planned on doing in 2 months. I'm doubling it into 4 months, and I'm just gonna have fun with it this summer. You can see my cat is now coming back for more snuggles. Okay, and then if I have any more bugs or any more things that I want to add to the original Arcane Dice Wars, in the meantime I could do that. If I want to go on some more walks with my son. I'm planning on trying to do kind of like a reading program with him this summer, to just kind of like keep his mind developing and occupied during the summer. So it'll just be, everything will just be will be a lot more manageable. And now when I'm looking at, this is the most important part of what I've been trying to talk about this whole segment, is that now when I look at the game line jam, I can look at it and still say, oh, I'm excited to get all this done. This looks like fun, instead of being like, oh my gosh, this is getting so out of control. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so stressed. And so I can look forward to this, and if I fall off more next week, I will rewrite my schedule again, because every time I look at my schedule, I don't want to make goals that are going to constantly be leading to failure. I want to make goals that are going to be constantly leading to success, because I want this to be a process of positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement, so that my experience overall can be a positive one, because I am doing this at the end of the day for fun. So that would be my suggestion for anybody who's trying to do like a project, just for themselves, and they want to hold themselves accountable to a schedule. I think schedules are great. That it's a great way to kind of like see where you're putting your time, and evaluating, where you can possibly make more time for the things that you want to do for yourself. But you should approach that again from a positive mindset, or else it's not going to be sustainable, because who always wants to be looking at something that makes them feel stressed or overwhelmed or miserable? Like, this is usually when people end up giving up in these long types of projects, these very time consuming kind of things. A lot of people give up and they never finish, because every time they look at it, it makes them feel bad. So who wants to keep looking at it at that point? Of course, you're going to want to give up. The same with, like, if you're trying to change your lifestyle, if you're trying to, whatever it is, change habits, change anything, or, do things that require conscientious effort. If it is something that is going to make you feel bad all the time, then it's going to be very hard to sustain that. And if you do manage to sustain it for a long period of time, it's going to bring you down, and you're going to get burnt out at some point. So, yep, this is where I'm at right now, and I'm looking forward to my new schedule, and my new goals, and who knows, maybe I will be able to do better than this goal that I achieved for myself, or maybe I will fall more far behind and I will have to reevaluate it next week. But hope that you have a good week yourself, and I'll check in with you next time, and don't